Another great slapper, Jordan Mason. Just
This is okay.
You don't understand.
Now I actually feel bad, and I never feel bad for you in fantasy.
I know, but do you see what happened to me, Jordan? Like, it's all of it.
The quarterback hoarding is one thing, but to just have Jordan Mason.
It's all of it. The whole thing is ridiculous. It's awful.
My team is real, and
Yes.
it is magnificent. Jordan Mason.
Your team is real and spectacular.
Oh,
that's the
I
quote.
screwed that up. That's
Yes.
all right. I'm so high on my team's greatness that I can't even remember quotes from Seinfeld.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Just a great day on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Connor Rogers, very elated Matthew Berry, and even more excited, Jay Croucher. Matchup of the century, fellas.
It was. Can't tell you how awful this is. All right, so
I was living it through the text thread.
Yes, no, the group text thread, one that I'm actually on, because was on fire last night. The League of Assholes group text thread on fire last night. And so first off, don't want to lose to Jay. I mean, I think everyone knows about that. I don't think anyone in the league would like to lose to Jay. It's annoying. He's annoying. He's smug.
You don't want to get slapped.
Yeah, definitely not by a grape. Definitely not a grape that looks like this, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's like that's the Mets.
Yeah,
That's what
I
they
guess.
do.
There we go. That is.
Yes. Congrats to your Mets, by the way. But if I was going to lose, Connor, if I'm going to lose to Jay, you'd rather at least get your ass kicked.
Quick death.
Because going into Sunday night, that was the case. I had Rashee Rice. He got 0. Then Josh Allen, does nothing on Sunday night as well. And I'm just.
Derrick Henry.
I did have.
209
Hang on.
yards.
So I have Derrick Henry, right? So I have Derrick Henry. So you look at there. But then what happened? I was down by 36 points or whatever crazy it was going into Monday Night Football. And then Ken Walker has this unbelievable game. You see there 33.6. Jackson Smith and Jigba over 13 points. But because you have stupid Tyler Lockett, you end up beating me by 0.14 points. I'd rather have gotten blown out. Just not my week.
Yeah.
But do you understand, at one point, with 3 minutes left, I had clawed all the way back, and I was actually leading. I was actually winning.
For the first time.
For the first time. You've been kicking my ass since Thursday night.
Yep, started with Jake Ferguson. He got the grapes rolling. And then it all comes down to this, where you have Ken Lockett and JSN. I have Tyler Lockett in this last game. And they start putting Ken Walker at wideout, which really annoyed me. Because he's not a wide receiver. And he's not even in the slot. He's just wideout.
Yeah.
They turned him into Marshall Falk last night.
He's like an X receiver.
He was very effective.
Yeah, and then he gets this garbage reception playing wideout that gives you the lead.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, 4 minutes, 26 seconds left on the clock, Tyler Lockett gets a reception to push me back into the lead, but then it got really ridiculous because then Geno started alternating targets between Lockett and JSN every play, and they just never connected.
And what happened is that JSN actually catches an 11-yard pass for a first down, and there's the most ticky-tack offensive pass interference call on Tyler Lockett away from the play.
So good
on
committed
the other
by
side,
Tyler Lockett.
On the other side, and so again,
Sabotage.
that play, which put me over the top and would have had me win the game, gets taken off. Taken off. That's not the play. I don't know what the play this is. This is. Here you go.
Right.
There's Tyler Lockett. This is the wrong play. I don't know what's going on here. This is a disaster.
Roll the tape, Pete.
That's a disaster. Just like what my team was last night. As well. So yes, not only did Tyler Lockett catch this BS, one catch for 13 yards to put you back over the top after I'd clawed my way back, but in fact then this ticky-tack, so the refs and Tyler Lockett conspire to cheat me out of a hard-earned victory that Ken Walker and Jackson Smith and Jigba rightfully gave to me. It's one thing to compete against 11 people, but I was competing against them and all the zebras, Connor.
You can't win
you
that.
can't win that. You can't win that. And of course, Jay has been gloating.
Oh, his smile this morning. I've never seen something like it.
Oh, it's awful. It was awful. And JSN ended up getting 3 extra targets after that in the end zone as well.
Yes, I tweeted out, here's a photo of me, Matthew Berry, who's front and center in the photo, and last night's hero, Tyler Lockett. who, it's so funny because Tyler Lockett, who's an incredibly nice guy.
Unbelievably
He's one of the most serene people I've ever met. Like, you meet him, you don't think this guy's like an NFL wide receiver because he is just so nice, so calm. And he calmly created great moments for me last night. Created great sabotage. It's so good that it was him who did the offensive pass interference. Because if it was like DK Metcalf, but the fact that not only is he getting the game-winning reception for me, he's also eradicating it directly for you.
Yes.
But it was a really bizarre play. Like, why is he trying to block?
But is it also just a bad call? Like, you don't see that called very often.
It was very ticky-tack, but right, he had no business blocking. You're away from the ball. Like, the ball.
It makes you think. There's a picture of them together.
Yes, there is. It was, a great moment.
The fix was in. The fix was in.
It was honestly one of the great fantasy moments, particularly from my perspective, perhaps not so much from yours. But like, I'm lying in bed on my iPad, all the lights are out, everyone's asleep, and like the last 5 minutes, I'm just looking. All right, where is Lockett lined up? Where is JSN lined up? Is Ken Walker on the field?
Here's the set. So you see there, boom.
That's it.
JSN catches it, first down, boom. There you go. And somehow, Tyler Lockett, just run a route. You're a veteran. Like, that's the most ticky-tack thing. He's running a route.
Yeah, it really didn't disrupt the play that much.
He didn't disrupt the play. He's running a route. Like, the fix is so clearly in.
There were so many other little moments as well. Like, Geno targets JSN in the end zone, doesn't connect.
Yes.
He has Lockett wide open. Lockett, as Aikman said, had 4 steps in the end zone. And then
he just
Ali McNeil, who, it's really hard for me to say his name because I want to say Ali McBeal every single time I say Ali McNeil. But Ali McNeil comes out of nowhere, swats down Tyler Lockett's touchdown. It was incredible. Just incredible theater. And the good guys won in the end. The Grape Slappers, they did it. They got home.
All right, well, we have different definitions of the good guys. I think I'm America's hero. I'll grant you that. I grant you that Australia was rooting for you.
Yes, had a nation, an island continent behind me.
Yeah, I needed 100%. 100%. But this is, make no mistake, this is a loss for America. And you see right there, like Australia speaking up.
Yes,
this is from
Heasley.
Yeah, Matthew Heasley said,
on behalf of Australia,
this makes us even for Crocodile Dundee 3.
Which is one of the best films Matthew's ever written.
Yeah. And by the way, Matthew Heasley, I'll just say this. That's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
You know what? I apologize for Crocodile Dundee 3. Hang on for a second, Tricia, though. If you see it right there, by the way, just so you want to know, Tyler Lockett, who is a lovely human being, but yeah, you paid double tonight. You don't. No, absolutely. You know, a lot of people think Ken Walker was going to drink free today.
One of our best chalkboards
Tyler
ever.
Lockett. The chalkboards are always ridiculous every single day. They're better than they deserve to be.
No drinks free.
No. Tyler Lockett, when you come in here, you pay double. By the way, he probably doesn't even drink.
No,
he is a lovely guy. I do have to admit that.
Plus 475.
Right.
He drinks. Crocodile Dundee 3, 11% on the tomato meter. Written by Matt Berry. He's listed as Matt Berry.
It's Matthew Berry and Eric Abrams, my old writing partner. It's Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. It is the third installment in the franchise. The technical name is Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. And I've told this story before, and I won't derail us even further. I'll just say this. The answer to the question is like, how did you come to write Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles? And it's because Paul Hogan and Paramount Pictures correctly answered this question. You want to pay us how much? I've said this all the time. Listen, kids, if you're going to sell out big. And
have measures on that.
Bought me a big house. God bless Croc 3.
Yeah.
I was like, we're not doing that. And they're like, whoa, how much do they want to pay us? Oh, we'll do that. 1,000%. 1,000%. If you're going to sell out big. And that's my lesson to the kids today. Yeah, 100%.
You're the Matt Berry who's listed here?
1,000%. You didn't know that?
I do. I just don't know why it's listed as Matt Berry.
Yeah,
were you born in Denver, Colorado?
I was born. I was born in Denver, Colorado. Is that on IMDb?
No, it's on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, which might be.
Tomato.
Did you write Desperate Housewives?
I did not. So that's what. that's the problem.
Happening?
This is another thing that I've written about before. But there's a stand-up comedian who is also a writer named Matt Berry, who is from Denver, Colorado. I was born in Denver, Colorado. There's a Matt Berry who's a stand-up comic. He wrote on Roseanne. He wrote on Reba. He wrote on Desperate Housewives. Lovely guy. I've met him. Yeah, I've met him. Really super nice guy. And I've written about this before about the confusion about our names. But yeah, so there you go.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but anyway, so
the audience
liked
it more than the critics by 14%.
Exactly. Well, I've always been about the people, Jay. And
I believe this.
We could go a whole thing about Crocodile Dundee. I mean, like Paul Hogan threatened to sue us, like after he changed every word in the script, and the whole thing's awful.
It's
and
a writer listed
dealing with Paul Hogan was a
fun.
I'll say this. I sold out big, and yet they still didn't pay me enough. I got to tell you this, after the whole experience, if I had to do over, I wouldn't have done it. We got to get to waivers here. But just the answer is that they're giving Matt Berry credit for, and I feel bad for Matt Berry, who, again, is a super nice guy, really funny writer, very successful. Again, Roseanne, Reba, Desperate Housewives, a lot of different big shows that he's written on, and he's been executive producer of. And unfortunately, like, somehow Rotten Tomatoes is tagging him with crappy Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. I'm the one that should get the crap for it, but, like, they're tagging him. So, and it's weird because if you watch the credits of Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, it says written by Matthew Berry and Eric Abrams. Like, it says Matthew Berry, not Matt Berry, but they've somehow tagged it with this other guy. And our credits sometimes get mixed up. So, like, I've been told, I love Reba, or what was Reba like? And I'm like, I don't know.
You should just go with it. See how it goes.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to Dontayvion Wicks.
30. Can I say 30 more seconds on this story as long as we're just on this super random story?
It's not my call.
30 seconds. When I first joined the Writers Guild of America, I was Matthew Berry, and they called me and they said, you can't be Matthew Berry. There's already a Matthew Berry in the Writers Guild. And I said, all right, fine. What's your middle initial? I'm like, well, it's Matthew J. Berry. And they're like, well, actually, his middle name is J. Berry. So you need to come up with a screen name, or like Matthew X. Berry or something. I'm like, I don't want a different name. I've worked hard to become a professional writer in TV. And I said, hey, actually, I know what his name is. It's the guy from Roseanne, right? I've seen his screen credit. He's always Matt Berry. I said, what if he signed something that says he'll always go by Matt Berry and I'll always go as Matthew Berry? Would that be okay? And they're like, sure, but we'll ask him, because the way, I guess, at the time the Writers Guild worked is only one person can have, quote, one name to avoid confusion. And so you think about this guy who doesn't know me from Adam, and they call him and ask him, and I think most people would have been like, I got here first, too bad. But he says, sure, I'll do that. And so he signed a thing, or I don't know what it is, that he would always be referred to as Matt Berry in credits, and I would always Matthew Berry. And so even now that I am out of show business, or out of entertainment show business, I'm in sports show business, I'm always Matthew Berry. Like, I try to honor that to this day. Again, that guy is the loveliest guy in the world. Screw you, Pete. It was 30 seconds.
No, definitely wasn't.
No, whatever. It doesn't matter. Pete showed the backup producer. Pete showed the wrong video. So we're 1 for 2. You and I were even.
Matt Berry drinks free tomorrow.
Yes, there you go.
He gets all of Tyler Lockett's drinks.
Yeah, he might drink free for the month.
Yeah.
All
right.
It's Waiver Wire Day. We're going to somehow recap the Monday Night Football doubleheader. We got Back to the Futures. Let's jump into the wide receivers right off the top here, as the notable buys is where we have to start. Yes, folks, it is the first bye week time of the season. A.J. Brown, who's been out anyway, he could use the bye. Monroe St. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jamison Williams, who had the massive play last night. Dallas Goedert, Ladd McConkey, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Sam Laporta. Basically, the Lions' offense in this, Matthew, is the one that really jumps out.
Yeah, for sure. But a lot of big name wide receivers, plus the Eagles guys that you've had to be without for a couple of weeks, and now another week without them. And so where we're going to start, though, and I guess, if you were using a Titans wide receiver, probably not. Okay, so Dontayvion Wicks is somebody that I think is
86% available.
Yeah, which is surprising. Week 4, 80% route participation, 24% target share. Looks like it's a high ankle sprain for Christian Watson. Dontayvion Wicks, the question was never about his talent. It was always about could he get on the field, because they have 4 wide receivers. They're going to go 3 wide now as well, and Wicks will be on the outside with Jaden Reed on the inside, Romeo Doubs on the other side. There were 6 end zone targets against the Vikings, right? Dontayvion Wicks caught 4 of them. He's second among the Green Bay wide receivers in yards per target last season. This is somebody who earns target at a very high rate as well. Jordan Love is back. He's healthy. And look at this upcoming schedule. At the Rams, home to Arizona, home to Houston, at Jacksonville. Not a secondary out there that scares you for a good wide receiver, a good offense as well. Dontayvion Wicks is a priority on the waiver wire, because I think there is a decent chance he does not give this job up. Because Watson's probably missing 3 to 4 games, if not more, and poor guy has struggled with injuries throughout. Wicks is super talented, Connor.
Yeah, he really is, and you have to love this offense with Jordan Love back under center. I mean, they could push the ball deep. They're effective throwing the ball in the red area as well. I mean, Jay, not all the game script's not going to be always what it was against Minnesota, but when this team wants to crank up the pass, they're highly effective at it.
Yeah, look, this one's just simple. Anyone who ever gets 13 targets from Jordan Love in a game of football has to be rostered in every league. Like, that's it. The analysis beyond that is just kind of semantics.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not just Dontayvion Wicks, but Romeo Doubs. Again, Christian Watson out, so Doubs suddenly, who's 60% available in Yahoo leagues. Like, this is somebody who Jordan Love looked to towards the end zone last year in a big way. He was top 6 among all wide receivers in terms of end zone targets. He leads Green Bay, actually. Romeo Doubs leads the Packers wide receivers in routes run this season. In the 2 games that he's played with Jordan Love, he has almost an 18% target share. I prefer Wicks to Doubs. But again, if you're looking for wide receivers, and at the end of the segment, we'll show you sort of how I rank all the wide receivers that are out there. But Doubs is somebody that should be on your radar as well. Worth noting that only one team in the NFL has given up more touchdowns to opposing wide receivers than the LA Rams, the Packers, who they play this week.
We also got Xavier Legette on the list here, guys. 86% available for the first-round rookie on the Panthers. Their upcoming schedule, the Bears, the Falcons, Commanders, and Broncos. And when Adam Thielen went down, Matthew, we talked about Legette is going to have to step up. You love to see 10 targets. He gets the touchdown. He also got the ball 2 carries in this game. He's just a unique weapon, more so than just a wide receiver.
Yeah, and that's what I would ask you, Connor, in terms of people that may not have watched all of Xavier Legette's tape from South Carolina the way you did. What do the Panthers have? What do fantasy managers need to know about 17 on the Panthers?
He's big. He's fast. He was a 5-year player for that program that really carved out a role on special teams before he became the entire offense. His final year in college, he stuck it out there, and then they used him on drag routes, screens, go balls, jump balls, really get the ball in Xavier Legette's hands and ask the questions later. And it feels like that's why the Panthers moved up in the first round to get him, because they don't have a guy that could do that in this offense. I don't look at Mingo as that, although the previous regime did. So him and Deontay Johnson complement each other extremely well.
To your point, 35% of his routes were from the slot, 40% of the perimeter. So as a rookie, they're already moving him all over the field. His average depth of target was over 9 yards, so they're targeting him deep down the field as well. 88% route participation, which tells me he's got the full playbook. I mean, if he's out there on 88% of the routes, it tells me, and again, they're moving him in the slot and the outside. They're using him in what is suddenly a very competent offense under Andy Dalton.
Yep. I think a very defined one as well in terms of the receivers, where it's Deontay and Xavier Legette, and then Jonathan Mingo is kind of operating in the slot, less of a target there, and then Tommy Tremble's playing tight ends. But look, Xavier Legette, if he's going to play, he played more snaps than Deontay Johnson. He played 61 snaps. So with Dalton playing the way he is, he has to be rostered.
Yeah.
Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson, 74% available, target monster right now. Jay, on your Giants, I mean, we know what the work Malik Neighbors is going to get, but they're looking to Wan'Dale Robinson on all the short area targets.
Yeah, definitely. And this also is a very seemingly defined offense where it's Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Neighbors in the passing game. Malik Neighbors can't continue to endure this kind of work.
He's going to get really
It kind of got
up.
a little bit, it was a little bit uncomfortable towards the end of the Cowboys game, where it felt like he was just getting rocked on every single play. He gets the concussion. Seems like he'll be okay to play this coming week, but still, Wan'Dale Robinson, I said that anyone who gets 13 targets from Jordan Love has to be rostered. You get 14 targets from Daniel Jones. You probably still have to be rostered, even if it's not as exciting.
74% available. He's basically a PPR cheat code. So far, he's through 4 weeks, he's a top 30 wide receiver in PPR. He's scored at least 11 fantasy points in 3 out of his 4 games this year. They are likely going to be down in games, and they're throwing. Daniel Jones is going to be under pressure, and when he's under pressure, they're dumping it off to Wan'Dale Robinson, who is a talented kid. He was a second-round pick. He's struggled with injuries, but feels like taking forever, and it drives me crazy because I had him in Dynasty and I bailed on him because, whatever. For Xavier Legette, actually. But still, Wan'Dale Robinson is kind of legit, I feel like.
Yeah, especially if you're in PPR. I mean, he's going to get the ball. He's going to get the ball a lot, and Brian Daboll is drawing up a lot of looks towards him. Josh Downs next on our list against Jacksonville's secondary, which has just been dreadful, especially with Tyson Campbell on IR. 79% available. Matthew, there's a chance Josh Downs is the best receiver on this team. And I know that sounds crazy, but I really believe that.
Yeah, look, he had a 32% target share in week number 4. It's a nice matchup with Jacksonville as well, who are top 7 in the NFL in terms of most yards allowed to slot receivers, which is obviously where Downs lines up the most. But we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Like, I think you're rooting for comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco, potential comeback player of the year this year as well, Joe Flacco.
Next year too, maybe.
Be amazing if he won it back-to-back years, Jay. That'd be unbelievable, honestly, when you think about that. Who's not comeback player of the year is Tyler Lockett. But what I will say about Josh Downs here is that, again, you'd feel better about this passing offense with Flacco under center than you would with Richardson. But either way, Downs, who came on last year, was kind of a revelation. He started the year hurt, but feels like, as teams are focusing on Michael Pittman, Josh Downs continues to get work. You know what I mean? And so again, I feel better about him if Flacco's starting than Richardson, but I do think Downs should be rostered in more leagues than the 30% he's available in. I'm sorry. He's only rostered in 21% of leagues.
Yep.
So he needs to be in more.
91 PFF grade last week for Josh Downs, which is beyond elite, and he played 85% of the snaps in the slot, which is exactly what you want.
That's what Connor's saying. That on a pure talent basis, might be Josh Downs.
He's by far and away their best separator and one of the best separators in the slot in the NFL. He just needs to be healthy. We've been waiting for this.
Yes.
So our next one here, Mike Williams on the Jets. He's getting more healthy. He's getting more involved. He's available in 79% of leagues. We saw Minnesota in a complete shootout last weekend, Jay, in the second half. They were running away with it, and then it kind of fell apart. Feels like as Garrett Wilson has some struggles, Breece Hall has some struggles, Aaron Rodgers is going to look Mike Williams' way.
Yeah, I think so. He just looks healthier as well. His stats could look better than they do. He dropped that touchdown against the Patriots, which I think would make everything look a lot cleaner. And look, the Jets now, they're almost 3-point underdogs against Minnesota at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so you expect that they may need to be throwing. And just with the way that Garrett Wilson has just been taken out of games, Rodgers has to look elsewhere, and elsewhere right now is Mike Williams and Allen Lazard.
The question with Mike Williams has never been talent. It's always been health. He's healthy now. His snaps have increased every single week. So I'm with you there, Connor, as the Jets are continuing to look for answers. Maybe one of the answers is Big Mike Williams.
Some deeper league targets at wide receiver. Trey Tucker on the Raiders. Jordan Whittington and Tutu Atwell on the Rams. We've talked about them a lot. Ray McCloud, who continues to be involved in the Falcons offense while Kyle Pitts is not. And maybe it's Jalen Polk time for the Patriots offense that is just looking for answers, Matthew.
Trey Tucker is somebody that Denny Carter talked about last week as well. Had a nice game there. I've said this as soon as Cooper Kupp went down. Jordan Whittington is going to be a thing. Last week, over almost a 28% target share, the second highest by a Rams wide receiver this season. Not in that game, but this season. He's going to continue to play in the slot in that Cooper Kupp role as well. And for whatever it's worth, when we, meaning NBC, had the Chiefs-Falcons game, Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison, Jack Collinsworth, they go to the games every week. Tony Dungy actually spoke with Kirk Cousins and told me, Tony was texting me, he says, Kirk Cousins was like, I really like Ray McCloud, actively brought his name up to Coach Dungy when they were out in the field together. So just, and by the way, the numbers have supported that. He's been looking for Ray McCloud.
To recap, Matthew's Week 5 top wide receiver waiver targets. Dontayvion Wicks is number 1, 86% available. He's got the Rams. You love that. Xavier Legette at 2. Romeo Doubs staying in that Packers wide receiver room at number 3. Wan'Dale Robinson having a breakout year for the Giants. Josh Downs healthy and looking good in his return. And Mike Williams, same for him as he gets more healthy. He gets better week after week. All right, let's look at the notable running backs on a bye in Week 5. Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, Tony Pollard, and Tyjae Spears. That's a big list there, Matthew.
It's a really big list at, fantasy's second weakest position. Tight end is obviously the weakest. But, running backs are hard to come by, and you've got a bunch of every week starters out, and Tyjae Spears. We like Tyjae Spears, but we like Tyjae Spears. We like Tyjae Spears, but I don't know that he's an every week starter, right? But the rest of those
touchdown from Tyjae last night.
100%.
Quarterback.
Look, and Tyjae's like probably a borderline flex play depending on the depth of your league and the rest of your roster. But and unfortunately, I don't have great news for you because the guys that are available at running back aren't nearly as strong as the wide receivers that are available. But if you're looking out there, we got to start with Kareem Hunt. We've talked about him a couple of times ever since the Chiefs signed him. We were like, hey, we don't know how this is all going to bake out. And by the way, there's also a chance that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back with the Chiefs this week. So it is playing a little bit with fire. CEH definitely going to return to practice this week. We'll see if he's active. But either way, Last week, Kareem Hunt led the Chiefs' backfield in touches and snap rate. He played 43% of them. He saw 67% of the team's running back touches as well, including 2 of the 3 red zone touches for them as well. I know P. Ryan got into the end zone, but ultimately Kareem Hunt got the first couple of shots at it as well. And weirdly, Connor, also a 10% target share for Kareem Hunt. We didn't think he was going to be used in the passing game. Right, exactly, because he just wasn't used that way in Cleveland.
Yeah, this is a Chiefs offense that, let's call it what it is right now, they're desperate, and they're going to be desperate without Rashee Rice. We know Kelsey's going to be involved, but they're going to have to get their running backs involved in the pass game. Obviously, the touches indicate that Hunt will be that guy. If he's on the field, he could always make a play.
Yeah, for sure. It's a home game against the Saints. You don't love the matchup as well, but ultimately it's the Chiefs, and there's less people to touch the ball these days.
Kareem Hunt, proud member of Slap Them Like a Grape. Starting running back for the Chiefs, probably not even going to get on the field for Slap Them Like a Grape. Team's a goddamn juggernaut. The show rolls on.
Some other running back news. Christian McCaffrey has Achilles tendonitis in both legs. John Lynch said in an interview on Friday he has bilateral Achilles tendonitis. That's what that means. In the same interview, he said, sounds very like Jay, God willing, the thing has quieted down and we can build him back up in a really smart and thoughtful way. God willing is not ever how I want to hear injury news start.
No,
you don't want divine intervention to get your running back on
one
the field.
Time.
Yeah.
Having said that, I don't know that this is any quote unquote new news than the couple of days ago when it was just like, hey, all the reports about Germany and the expectation is that he can be back by at the latest November. So we still think. Let me put it this way. I don't want to say we. The general thought is that we will see Chris McCaffrey at some point this season. Having said that, we also thought he'd be fine for week 1, and that wasn't it. And then we're like, well, he's going to avoid IR, and now he's on IR. And now it was like, well, he's only going to miss 4 games. And now it's like, well, he's definitely back by, November, and now he's traveling to the country for experimental, I don't know what's going on in Germany. But that's not good when you got to leave the country to get something done. So I hope, I pray we see Chris McCaffrey at some point this season. But I think we have to start thinking about that there is a possibility that we don't.
What percentage chance, top of your head, we can all do this, that Christian McCaffrey scores 20 fantasy points in a game this season?
While fantasy is going on.
Yep. To me, it's like
30%.
Yeah, I was literally going to say 30%.
20 to 30%.
Yeah. So
30%.
And getting worse each week.
And what I would say, if you're sitting there and you're 0-4, you're 1-3, and you've been like, well, I've been holding out hope, and I've been trying. I don't have Jordan Mason. I'm trying to trade for Jordan Mason. The guy that has Jordan Mason is like Jay Croucher and crazy and unreasonable and won't deal him. See what you can get for Chris McCaffrey, because Connor, we were talking off air about this, about a different situation on your team with a different player. Like you need to. You can't wait for McCaffrey to come back, or you can't wait for some of these guys to come back. Like, you got to make a move now, and you don't like to trade them, but see what you can get.
You might lose the value of the trade, but your season might be over, so you don't have a choice.
Yep.
That's the difference right now.
Connor just traded me 30 minutes ago, Cooper Kupp, to me for Baker Mayfield, who was sitting on my bench.
Superflex league. I have no second quarterback.
Juggernaut gets
by
more juggernaut.
By the way, I hate that because that made his team smarter, stronger, but that's a smart trade for both of you guys. You traded excess depth that is valuable that you don't need to Connor, and you don't need Cooper Kupp right now. You need to win.
And I'm playing the weakest team in the league. I have to win this week. Yeah. If I lose, I'm done.
Who are you playing? Producer Adam?
I am playing producer Adam. Matthew's ride or die team.
Yeah, exactly. Please, it's on Adam at some point. There's only so much I can do.
Yep.
Right.
I'm already thinking about playoffs, seeing who has the easiest playoff schedule and everything. That's how I'm going to play the rest of the season.
It's so annoying.
One more bit of news. Nick Chubb is set to practice Wednesday. That'll open the 3-week window to be activated. In more running back potential waiver claims.
He's rostered in most leagues, but he's out there in about 20% of leagues. Worth seeing if he's out there, because definitely worth a stash if he is still available in yours.
Rico Dowdle just meets our threshold at 51% available. Upcoming schedule, he's got the Steelers on Sunday Night Football, the Lions a bye week, and then San Francisco also on Sunday Night Football against the Giants. 11 carries. He got 1 target in the pass game that went for a touchdown, Matthew. It's desperate times on the waiver wire. If Rico Dowdle's out there for you, grab him.
It does seem like he has overtaken that backfield role from Ezekiel Elliott. He leads the Cowboy running backs in touches and target share this season. 3 straight games with at least 55 yards from scrimmage. There was 1 goal line rush for the Cowboys in Week 4. Rico Dowdle got it. Played 47% of the snaps, which was a season high for him. Also 12 touches and total yards. Those were all season highs for Rico Dowdle. Just even when they were in clock-killing mode, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like they're not even using Zeke at the goal line, which is like that the one thing you'd think they were using. So it just does feel like Rico Dowdle is sort of, it's probably still like a 65-35 split here, maybe 70-30, but to the extent you want a Cowboys running back, Rico Dowdle is the guy, and he's available in 51% of the leagues. They're at Pittsburgh this week. You don't love that matchup, but again, sometimes beggars can't be choosers, and it's a dicey week given all the buys at running back.
Jay, the good news for Roschon Johnson, he gets the touchdown in week 4. He did get 7 carries. The bad news is DeAndre Swift is back.
Yeah, and I guess Swift is the big news because he woke up and had a really strong game against the Rams. At the end of the day, Swift played 38 snaps out of 60. Roschon played 22. So it's not like Roschon is a complete afterthought. And I still think it's 1 week from DeAndre Swift. The previous 3 weeks he was terrible. So there's still upside for Roschon Johnson. I don't think you can start him at the moment, but there is scope for him to take over that job.
Yeah, 1,000%. And feels like at least we finally have a pecking order here in Chicago, which feels like it's Swift and then Johnson and then Khalil Herbert. Feels like, at least based on last week's usage, that he has surpassed Khalil Herbert on the depth chart there in Chicago. And just given his college profile and the fact that Swift has struggled for much of this year, not last week, but much of this year, seems like worth a stash there, and maybe you can get something. Again, they play the Carolina Panthers this week, so hopefully you can get some work there. I don't know what a mild high ankle sprain is. I've never heard that phrase. I think that's made up. But supposedly that's what the NFL Network is reporting Jonathan Taylor has. I don't know what that means. But what I would say is that if Jonathan Taylor misses time, I think Trey Sermon is who you would want to have, especially against the Jaguars. But we just don't know because they're saying he's day-to-day. So I guess we're taping this early Tuesday morning. If news comes out later today about the severity of Taylor's ankle injury, or hey, he's going to miss time, I think Sermon would move up, obviously, because he'd be the starting running back for the Colts this week against Jacksonville. But yeah, I mean, there's also a chance that he's just kind of a backup because if Taylor's healthy, he's useless. Trey Sermon.
Cordarrelle Patterson, our final running back here before we get to some insurance, guys. 96% available. He left in the second quarter due to an ankle injury against the Colts here. But like we said, Jay, we're in desperate times. Cordarrelle Patterson was getting work when Jaylen Warren was out. He
was. He got 6 carries. He looked good as well. And a team that doesn't want to throw the ball in the Steelers. So, look, we'll see with the injury. But certainly he becomes an interesting option, though. Jaylen Warren is going to come back at some point. Najee Harris, of course, is still the man in Pittsburgh.
62 yards on 8 targets. On 8 touches. Arthur Smith brought him from Atlanta to Pittsburgh. Yeah. If he's healthy, he's going to have value.
Notable insurance running backs.
As long as Warren is out, I should say. Sorry.
These are guys to, have handcuffed and ready in case your starter gets hurt. Tyler Algier, we know what he could do when he gets the ball. Tank Bigsby. Justice Hill has been involved in a Ravens offense that has everybody banging their heads against the wall from a fantasy perspective. Trey Benson and Emmanuel Wilson had a down week after a big week, Matthew, but they still want him involved in this Green Bay backfield.
Look, over the past 2 games, Emmanuel Wilson has 43% of the team's running back rushes. Now, they got down big, and maybe they like him more in passing game than Josh Jacobs, but still, Emmanuel Wilson can play. Tank Bigsby very quietly has led the Jaguars in rushing in 2 out of the 4 games this year, including in week 4. I think you make an argument he's the better running back. He certainly, at certain times, he's looked more explosive than Travis Etienne. And I think in deeper leagues, you could make an argument that Bigsby, Emmanuel Wilson, Justice Hill, even Tyler Algier, they're certainly important to have as insurance backs. They may not even be available in deeper leagues, but still, they're potentially viable flex plays in a 12-team or deeper league this week if you have a bad bye week situation or injuries.
Let's jump into the quarterbacks here. We start with Justin Fields, who's 68% available. He's got the Cowboys.
Another grape slapper.
Another grape slapper. Unbelievable. Justin Fields, QB1 in week 4. Listen, when Justin Fields runs, Matthew, he is one of the most effective options at quarterback in fantasy.
And I think he'll run against the Cowboys this week. They've allowed the 5th most rushing yards to quarterbacks, including 2 rushing touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks. Over the last 2 weeks, 5 goal-to-go rushing attempts for Justin Fields. Back-to-back games with over 18 fantasy points as well. Justin Fields looks pretty comfortable in this offense, and he's playing some really good games. This is what you sort of expected from Justin Fields. And credit to Arthur Smith, who we dumped on a lot last year, but he's got Justin Fields playing within the offense of that system, not putting it all on his shoulders. Fields is playing well, and they're not saying, "Hey, go do hero ball." We're going to run it. We're going to take our shots. We're going to use your legs as well, and Russell Wilson ain't getting that job back.
No.
That's one of the reasons why I have no issue with you trading Baker Mayfield other than just it makes your team stronger, which is annoying. But Justin Fields is a legit fantasy starter the rest of the year.
Yep, agreed.
And so is Geno Smith right now, 55% available. He's got the Giants. Geno with 56 pass attempts last night on Monday Night Football. That surpassed the previous total of 55 set by Matt Hasselbeck in 2002 for the Seahawks franchise history. Listen, Ryan Grubb wants to throw the ball, and that's paying dividends for Geno right now, Jay.
Yep, and that's the key. Right now, in terms of pass rate over expected, it's the Seahawks clearly. They're the number one team in terms of pass rate over expected. Everyone's on the broadcast getting upset about how the Seahawks weren't running the ball enough, which was great for me as someone who's going up against Kenneth Walker. But look, Geno, he's just playing at a really high level now at the moment. And I get that he wasn't perfect last night. He had the throw to Alex Anzalone. It seems like Geno's just never going to see that linebacker dropping into coverage his entire career. It is the one weak spot. But he's playing really well. He has 3 legit weapons in the passing game at receiver, and this offense is loaded at the moment. So Geno, I think he can be pretty comfortable. To me, he is in that tier of guys like Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, of those ilk.
Through 4 weeks of the season, he's the 8th best quarterback in fantasy football. It's like, hey guys, there's a top 8 fantasy quarterback on the waiver wire, and do we think this is a fluke? We don't. Again, because of the offense, because of the weapons, because of his talent. We expect Geno Smith to continue to produce. By the way, he's running a little bit more this year as well, whether it's the offensive line issues. Some of them were designed as well. Last thing here on Geno Smith. No quarterback in the NFL has more pass attempts this year than Geno. He's available in 56% of Yahoo leagues and, shouldn't be.
Some deep league quarterback waiver targets. We got Andy Dalton, who's thrown for 2+ touchdowns in both his starts. Deshaun Watson, believe it or not, he's got the Commanders.
Yeah, well, I would say it's a great matchup until my Commanders shut down.
Dan Quinn's had enough of people saying that.
Yeah, 1,000%. And Joe Flacco, if he gets the start, he's certainly interesting against a Jaguars team that has allowed the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. We're seeing what's going on with Anthony Richardson's hip pointer as well. Dalton, you don't love the matchup at Chicago, but he does have over 20 fantasy points in both starts this season. Deshaun Watson, listen, he's 3rd in pass attempts per game, and the Commanders' secondary has been, other than last week, been bad.
Yeah. Watson also got screwed in the Raiders game by the Murray Cooper pick that he dropped, then also a long pass that was called back by holding. I thought that was actually the best Watson has looked as a Cleveland Brown. It's just a low bar to clear, but he looked better.
Yeah. Our last group, tight ends for waiver wired here, and we start with Packers tight end Tucker Kraft, but a very Packers-heavy waiver wire day. Tucker Kraft has taken over the tight end position from Luke Musgrave in this offense. 96% available. Love the matchup against the Rams. Coming off a week where he had 9 targets and a touchdown, Matthew.
By the way, and you like the matchup against the Rams, who are allowed the highest catch rate to opposing tight ends. 3 straight games now with a target share of at least 15%. Doesn't matter if it's Jordan Love or Malik Willis out there. Tucker Kraft is getting some looks, and so the upcoming schedule is nice. Rams this week, they're at the Rams, then home to Arizona, home to Houston, at Jacksonville. At fantasy's weakest position, Tucker Kraft is on the tight end 2 radar.
Another player here, Jay, for tight end, Cade Otton against the Falcons, 85% available. That's Thursday Night Football. Keep that in mind if you're interested in adding Cade Otton. You'll have to make a decision very quickly. Another guy, 9 targets in week 4.
Yep, the 9 targets is key. Also, what I think is most key is that last year, under Dave Canales, the Bucs, they passed the ball at a below average rate in terms of just negative pass rate over expectation. This year, the only team higher than the Bucs in terms of pass rate over expectation is Geno's Seahawks. So they are throwing the ball a ton, and Baker is reaping the benefits, and so is Cade Otton.
College play callers, Ryan Grubb, Liam Cohen.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do. They come from college, and they say we're going to throw the ball in the NFL. If you need a defense this week, check out the Seahawks. They got the Giants, 73% available.
Ooh.
The Broncos against the Raiders, 83% available. Broncos defense has played very well in back-to-back weeks.
Crazy.
Patriots against whatever is left of this Dolphins offense.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
We'll get into that in the next segment.
Yes, we will.
Brutal.
If you want to add someone that we talked about today, you got to drop someone. Here's some droppable players rostered in over 50% of Yahoo leagues. Zamir White has really done nothing. Isaiah Likely had a big week 1. He's done nothing since then. Dalton Schultz not been involved in Houston's offense. Christian Watson now hurt. Carson Steele had the fumble and then barely played. Aaron Rodgers coming off an awful week against the Broncos. Ezekiel Elliott not involved in the Cowboys' run game. And Matthew Stafford for the Rams. We've talked about the better quarterback options there, Matthew.
Again, we're not saying you should drop these players. We're saying that if you need to make room for somebody, those are guys that I'm comfortable dropping. I mean, again, like Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, like these are quarterbacks that don't run the ball, right? We think there are better options out there on the waiver wire as well. The tight ends are all kind of a mess. With Christian Watson, again, this is only if you don't have an IR spot. Otherwise, you throw him in there. But it's, and Zeke. I mean, sadly, I'm going to have to keep Zeke on Live at Noon at the Cock because we lost Rashee Rice, and our league is 12 teams, super deep benches.
There's
nothing on the waiver wire. There's nothing on the waiver wire.
That's a tough saying.
Yes.
Dominate this NFL. Yeah, Pete and Jay are just laughing it up.
They are.
Yeah.
By the record, like, okay, wait, Pete, show my. Can I just have to bitch about one last thing? Well, we'll get into this one second. Bitch about one. Show them the grade that I showed you. Look at this. No, right here. Pull this up. I put up 166 points. I lose Rashee Rice. I get a 0, right, from Rashee Rice. Josh Allen does nothing, and yet I still put up the second highest score in our league. And Yahoo sends me this Week 4 recap that gives me a C+. What the hell is that? What am I supposed to do? I lost by 0.14 points. If Tyler Lockett doesn't cheat along with the referees and get us a holding call, I win this matchup. I'm the second highest guy in the league.
They're tough graders.
What the hell?
Yeah, you should have started
What
Rashee
am I
Rice.
going to do?
That's what Pete said.
Screw you guys, Yahoo.
You're a 500 team, Matthew.
What the hell? I am, but I was good this week. I'm fourth place. This is how, like, I'm 2-2, but I have the highest points in the league. I'm in fourth place. At the playoffs start today, I would still make them. Then I would still beat your ass.
You know what will help you going forward? A Fantasy Life Plus subscription. You can dominate this NFL season with a Fantasy Life Plus subscription. Get weekly rankings, start-sit advice, DFS analysis, and betting tools. Use promo code SEASON20 for 20% off. Go to fantasylife.com/rotoworld to learn more.
Yeah.
We're taking our first break. When we're back, Lions, Seahawks, Titans, Dolphins, whatever the hell that was. Breaking it all down after this.
Where did you just buy this this mask today, or have you owned this?
I'm embarrassed to say that I own it.
Okay. What was the occasion that made you buy this?
It was a very good deal at a yard sale.
Can't beat that.
So it's a used head.
One is for $3.
It's priceless.
I've done a lot worse for $3.
We are eating good in the neighborhood this Sunday when the Fantasy Football pregame show broadcasts live from Applebee's in Pittsburgh. The restaurant at 6570 Steubenville Pike will open just before pregame kicks off at 11. Come on out early to start your tailgate party with us this Sunday and ask your sit-start questions ahead of the big Sunday night football matchup between the Steelers and Cowboys. If you're not in Pittsburgh, you can watch the show live on Peacock and at youtube.com/NFL. on NBC.
But Pittsburgh, we're coming, baby. We're coming. I don't know what, like the guy that wore the Eagles head, what would you wear if you're I guess just maybe a Steelers helmet?
The terrible towel.
The terrible towel would it be? Like, dress up as like Jack Lambert?
Yeah.
Terry Bradshaw?
That's a good one.
Najee Harris.
Najee Harris, sure.
All the Steelers legends.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, I cannot confirm or deny this rumor, but I've heard a rumor that Antonio Brown is going to streak naked through the Applebee's. Just going to come by, pop by, say hello.
That would actually be terrifying.
Would it? It probably would be.
And not the most surprising on the surprising scale.
No.
To be honest with you.
No.
All right, fellas. Monday Night Football. Congrats. Good prop. Tony Pollard. Over 14.5 receiving yards.
Yes.
JSN, over 4.5 receptions.
Easy.
Jay, big apologies about Will Levis getting hurt. That's not your fault.
100% would have won.
We would
have went 3 for 3.
We would have gone 3 for 3. We did go 2 for 2. But 2 for 3, I should say. So I think the lesson here is to follow me and Connor and fade Jay.
I agree.
All right, Monday Night Football fantasy takeaways. The Lions beat the Seahawks in a barn burner, 42-29, a perfect night for Jared Goff, Matthew. 18-18, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns. Is this more about the Seahawks defense, or is Jared Goff back on track right now?
I think it's probably a little bit more about game script and the Seahawks defense. Listen, obviously, Jared Goff played great. You can't go 18 for 18 and not say he didn't go great. I mean, 27.2 fantasy points. He finishes as the 4th best quarterback in fantasy this week. The one thing I will say, though, is that they run a lot when they get in close. I mean, remember, the Lions put up 42 points, and I don't know if they're putting up 42 points every week. Like, I know this is going to sound weird to say, but I don't I feel better about Jared Goff after last night than I did before, but I don't know that I'm feeling, oh yeah, the guy,
he's back, yep.
He's fully back as a fantasy asset. Like, again, he played great from an NFL perspective here, but like, this is a guy that only attempted 2 deep passes. His average up the target was under 5 yards in this game, right? You know, and I think the big bomb to Jameson Williams, which is part of the playbook, obviously, but you know that skews it somewhat as well. Game script helped a great deal, but again, they're getting close. They're giving it to Gibbs, they're giving it to Montgomery, and just feels like the days of that they want to be a running team. This is the team that wants to run the ball, and so I think Jared Goff is more high-end QB2 than QB1 despite the QB4 finish last night.
Yep, and this team, they wanted to run the ball last year, but their run rate over expectation is even higher this season. So they're leaning more into the run. That might be correlated with Goff struggling so much in the first 3 weeks. He obviously righted the ship here, but with the running backs, like both of these guys, they're just startable every week in this offense. Behind this offensive line, Gibbs getting more goal line work is interesting. Montgomery obviously has probably the play of the game with that epic catch and run where he shedded about 10 Seahawks defenders.
But think about that, right? Jahmyr Gibbs gets 2 up the middle goal line runs for touchdowns. David Montgomery catches a 40-yard pass, right? It's like they're mixing and matching. It is not Gibbs is the third down back and David Montgomery is the is the early down grinder. Like they're mixing and matching these guys. And the fantasy takeaway is that both guys are every week starters. Doesn't matter. Yeah, this is David Montgomery just going beast mode here. Unbelievable. Nice to see Amon-Ra throw a touchdown pass, and huge game for Amon-Ra St. Brown. He threw one, he caught one. Last year's ride or die. Probably should have gone back to him and just made him my ride or die again this year. He should just be my ride or die for life.
Would have been a safe pick.
A little bit, but also like he had the one game in week 2 where he had the 18 targets. Outside of that, 6 targets, 8 targets, 6 targets. There's just a lot of guys in this offense, and they don't really want to throw the ball. So look, I thought that was absolutely foreseeable that Amon-Ra could be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy this year. I think that's probably not on the cards.
Again, that goes with their run heavy script here as well. By the way, just a fun fact that I want to bring up that Jared Goff, of course, catches a touchdown pass as well. We don't expect that every week, but that contributes to the 27 fantasy points for him. But just worth noting that so far in the year, Jared Goff now has more receiving touchdowns than Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Waddle, George Pickens, Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, Trey McBride, Mark Andrews combined. He has more receiving touchdowns than all those guys combined. Because of course he does.
And he's got one.
Welcome to fantasy football. He's got one.
It's a good catch.
The rest of those guys have 0.
Beautiful throw.
Beautiful throw.
He really
He kind of laid it in there.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah.
And, Goff ran his route. He beat his man to the corner. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
On the other side, Kenneth Walker, a big night in his return, 3 touchdowns. You had the Sunday night
Because the
miracle.
Lions have fur. Fur up.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to run with that one.
I don't think that's going to carry.
Put it in there. We'll just think
See,
about it.
workshop it.
Yeah. Bird up. Here you go. Here's the...
You're almost Monday Night Miracle, man.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker.
God, so brutal. But Kenneth Walker did everything he could. It's not his fault that he's got a cheating teammate in Tyler Lockett and the refs were against us as well. It's a conspiracy theory. But first career game with 3 touchdowns. 19% of his rushes this year have gained 10 or more yards. He's a big play waiting to happen. And I think the exciting thing about Walker is they're using him in the passing game. We talk about how Geno Smith wants to throw so much. Well, the fact is that Ken Walker is part of this passing attack. Double-digit target share through 2 games. As you see it there, he's got a 10% target share in the 2 games that he's played this year. Nice to see Charbonnet get some work in this game. He wasn't completely forgotten, but clearly this is Ken Walker's backfield. This mirrors what we talked about in the preseason. They want KW3 to be a workhorse.
They really do. It's just going to take another injury for Kenneth Walker, for Charbonnet to be a guy that you consistently start. I mean, he's a really good player. He's just buried by the amount of touches Walker gets.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it does get into more throw game script, Charbonnet is going to be out there a little bit more, but clearly Ken Walker's back.
The last 2 things I just want to mention on this game very quickly is one is that I thought Laporta looked good. I know I didn't know he didn't do much here, but I just think he's really interesting. And the last one I wanted to say is who is it? AJ Barner, the tight end for the Seahawks.
Yeah, he caught the touchdown.
He got the touchdown. I'm not saying he's a fantasy option, but just if you're in a deep dynasty league where you're desperate for tight ends, like I am in deep dynasty leagues, I thought it was interesting that Buck and Aikman brought up the fact that Campbell and Ben Johnson Ryan Grubb mentioned to them that A.J. Barner is going to be a thing this year. At some point, he's going to be a contributor. Because they meet with the coaches, and the fact that they bring up A.J. Barner, that Ryan Grubb brings up A.J. Barner randomly, just that sort of piqued my interest. I think if you're in a deep dynasty league, put in a bid on A.J. Barner.
Of course, the Titans-Dolphins game. The Titans beat the Dolphins 31-12. Listen, Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears involved. Will Levis out. I think the big story here, Matthew, from fantasy, is this Dolphins offense just toast from a fantasy perspective with huge names that were drafted very early.
They play at New England, and then they have a bye week. And I just don't know how good you feel about going on the road to New England on a short week. You probably still have to start Devon Achane, but he's averaging 2.1 yards per carry over the last 2 weeks, under 8 fantasy points per game. You're probably still starting Tyreek Hill. But again, you don't feel great about this. Devon Achane was on my hate list, and people were like, really? And I'm like, dude, this offense is not going to be good. It's also a tough matchup against Tennessee, but the Patriots are a tougher matchup as well. But Hill and Waddle, both under 40 receiving yards. They tried to get him the ball. Hopefully more practice Tyler Huntley gets there. But, yeah, it feels like whatever production you were counting on from the Dolphins this year is out the window until and if Tua comes back.
Yep, no real takeaways on the Titans side. Looks like it's still going to be Will Levis when he gets healthy. Tony Pollard's still his backfield.
Yeah, and they're on a bye next week as well, so we got time for the Titans. And we'll talk more about the Dolphins and who you should or shouldn't start later in the week. But, yeah, it's a disaster there.
Taking our last break when we're back to the futures. Our favorite awards bets coming right up. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code Berry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Let's have a little back to the futures for last call today as we take a look at the MVP odds on the board here, Jay. Anybody you like on this board?
I like Brock Purdy, Connor, going back to the well, 18-1 on Purdy. I think he's the guy who's most likely to have the best, most efficient stats like he did last year. But this year, the narrative has changed. This is from Ben Solak, known Brock Purdy skeptic. Only 25% of Brock Purdy's passing yards have come from yak so far this season. That's the lowest percentage for anyone in a full season since 2000. He has become a different quarterback, a better quarterback, and he gets more credit this year.
Yeah, and by the way, they've been so banged up. No Chris McCaffrey. Debo's been in and out. Kittle's been in and out as well. So I'm going with Dan Quinn, Coach of the Year. Hail the Commanders, hail victory. I said that last week. The odds are not as good this week, but he's still plus 450. The Commanders are now plus 115 to make the playoffs and plus 240 to win the NFC East. That doesn't make sense. If he gets the playoffs, let alone wins the NFC East, he's winning Coach of the Year, and yet the odds to do that much lower than plus 450 to win Coach of the Year. Dan Quinn, hail the Commanders, hail victory. Their upcoming schedule is nice, Jay.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to look at Defensive Player of the Year here, guys, and go with T.J. Watt. He is the second favorite right now. Aiden Hutchinson, the big-time favorite at plus 250. Watt is plus 350. Tape's been phenomenal. The sack numbers are good. They're about to be great. It's all going to catch up for Watt. I like the schedule, the tackles he'll face in the coming weeks as well.
I like you sucking up to Pittsburgh because we're going there on Sunday. Hey, it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. All that stuff. For Jay and Connor, I'm Matthew. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.